Feeling cramped? Here's the right way to move up in real estate.
There are many different reasons why people decide to move up. I mean, we've moved up,
A few times.
we've moved down, we've moved
Moved
sideways,
all around.
we've moved all around, and it's not always about the square footage. Sometimes your income changes, sometimes your family structure changes.
That's right.
Kids come, they go, family comes and goes, and it's not always about more square footage. It's just things change and you need something different. But it's not about just making the move. It's about doing it the right way.
So today, we're going to talk strategy and what that looks like to make that next move up.
All right, let's start with the signs. Why do people make these moves? So if you can relate to some of these things, you're going to know exactly what we're talking about, and maybe there's something on the horizon for yourself. Sometimes it looks like there was a job change and you end up having to move closer to work, or maybe you're working from home and need a little bit more space, that extra office, that extra garage space or outside space, whatever it may be. There's tons of different reasons, but we'll give you a couple of signs that it's time for you to start considering making a move up.
Your needs for your family don't fit your current layout of your home, or you've just maxed out on all of your DIY upgrades and abilities, and your home just isn't going to match what you're living in anymore.
Yeah, that's happened for us. A couple of the things that happen is you realize that, hey, we have all of this money, we call it equity, stored up in our house, and we're going to take that and we're going to use that for this next purchase to help out with those less functional spaces, find something a little bit more functional. Or there's a better neighborhood out there that's calling to you, some area or space that you feel is going to be much better and a better fit for your station in life.
So if you're nodding along, chances are you're probably ready. But let's talk about some of the strategy behind making that next move up.
Yeah, let's do it. We have some knowledge about that.
A lot.
All right, let's start off with the most important thing, which is equity. We're going to call it your secret weapon. Okay, equity is your secret weapon. It means that you've had, over time, you're paying money into your home if you own a home right now, and that money's building up. And now it's time to figure out, okay, how much do we actually have to be able to make the next purchase? Now, we're going to tell you about how to do that. But first things first is you got to figure out what your home is worth. Now, I know that you're going to go to Zillow and you're going to look and you're going to say, what's the Zestimate? Or, maybe you'll find another website, realtor.com or homes.com, whatever it may be. You're going to go onto these places. You're going to look for what your estimate is. That's not what you need. You need to have a professional come out and actually give you a number that is what you're going to be able to work with. That is really the foremost step to being able to make that move up.
I agree. Okay, do you sell first or buy first? That is always the $1 million question.
Yeah, I'd say so for sure. That's like the number one question we get when we go into listing consultations is, man, we want to make this move. Do we sell first? Do we buy first? How do we do that?
It is really based on a few different things, like your risk tolerance, your financial setup, and then, of course, timing. But Andre is going to give you a little bit more framework on what that looks like.
Well, I think we can both do that because when we move, she's I'm going to call the word progenitor. She's the originator of the idea. Right? Half the time, I don't even know that we're moving.
Sometimes. Yeah.
But it's true, right?
Maybe.
So we're going to make a move, and my thing is I always prefer to sell first, right? And the reason that I like to do it that way, and again, it's not equal, but it really depends on your specific situation. But I want to know my budget.
Yeah.
I want to know what I'm going to get
come to the
out
table
of my
with.
home. Yeah, be able to come to the table with. And I'm not afraid to know that, hey, there's going to be an ability for me to sell this, get my budget, and then buy the next one.
So I guess one of the next ones would be to buy first.
Yeah, it's a possibility. Again, it really depends about the team that you're putting together, right? So if you have a good loan officer, mortgage broker, somebody who knows what they're doing, or, really it comes down to them, I shouldn't say, or anything else. It's that person knowing this is going to work for you, this is not going to work for you, this is where we can get money from, We can pull money out of your equity of your home, through a HELOC. They have bridge loans. There's all these different programs out there that allow you to buy first.
Okay, but be clear, when we're talking about moving up, that's usually that they already have a home. And when you're saying that they're going to buy first, that means they're going to buy before they sell their current home.
Correct.
Okay. And another option would be to close with a contingency.
It means that your home's not on the market, but you're ready to put it on the market. You go find a home, you put an offer in on that home, and your offer is contingent on the sale of your home. Now, the thing that you have to think about as a seller is, if I'm looking at offers, how attractive is that to me? Because now I'm depending on somebody else to sell their house. And it happens, and we do it, and there's not an issue with it. The way that you go about that is you really vet the house that's being sold.
Yeah, well, and that's why coming up with a strategy and a plan and working with a realtor that understands all those options and what works for you.
Perfect, yeah.
Is definitely a good point.
Yeah, yeah.
So the next part is choosing the right next home. What is that for you, and what does that look like?
Oh man, how do you make that choice? That is always difficult. I wish it was more scientific than it is, but it's really not. It comes down to a feeling sometimes.
Yeah, it
Oftentimes it's people buy on feeling. And
yeah, like one time I was looking for a home and I had all of these criteria and guidelines, and then I found a home that didn't really meet a lot of those guidelines, and I fell in love with the home and the place, and that then became my next. So yeah.
You'll meet with your agent and you'll be like, this is what I want, and you'll give out a bunch of different things of what you want.
And
they'll find that
blow
for
it out
you,
of the water.
and then you'll find something, and this doesn't happen all the time, but often you'll find something and you'll say, hey, can I go look at this? And it's nothing like what you told the real estate agent, but guess what? That's okay.
That's right.
And you end up walking into it, and you just know that that's the place that you're supposed to be.
That's right.
Right?
There's a reason for it.
There is a reason for it. That's how you find your next home, usually.
Yeah. So I guess you really should ask yourself these next few things. Do you want more land or less maintenance? Is this the last move? And maybe what are some of the pain points in the current house that we want to solve in this next one?
But there are some common pitfalls that you want to make sure that you avoid when you do make that move. And those things are super serious, some things that you really, really should consider. Again, if you have the right agent, they're going to help you consider these things, but let's get into a few of those.
Waiting too long to start prepping your home for sale.
Yeah. Overbuying, right? That's another thing where they
become house poor.
That's why we always want you to sell first, is because we want to know this is how this is going to work.
And another pitfall would be not understanding your buying power and what that looks like, in the job that you have, the income resources that you have, the money going in, really knowing what your buying power is and understanding the numbers. You just met with a family the other day and explained the numbers and what that looks like. And, having an agent that sits down, they hadn't had anybody sit down and talk with them, but having an agent sit down and really explain what all of that means makes them more comfortable in knowing what's that monthly payment going to be, and where does that money go, and what does that look like?
Yeah.
Well, something else that we're seeing people do more and more is they're trying to time the market instead of just sticking with their plan. If you know you want to buy a house, like you say it all the time, like
do with the knowledge that you have. You make decisions based on where you're at.
Yeah.
Not where you think you're going to be in 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Because if you could have gone back to 2009 to buy a house,
100% would have bought a house. But I was making dumb decisions.
Because of what? The market?
No, because I was dumb and young.
Oh, well, that's true. But a lot of people made it based on the market. They didn't know what the market was going to do. They didn't know what the market was going to do. Had they bought then and not waited.
Holy smokes. There's so many people that I've met with. So I started in 2016.
Yeah.
And I met with people not moving up, not moving down, just not moving at all. And constantly hear it's going to crash. The market's going to crash. The market, and this is as soon as I get into real estate, before the market's going to crash. And everyone has this trauma from the 2008, 2009, rightfully so, right? It was pretty rough, right? But me being, when I was young in 2009, 10, 11, and 12, I just didn't make those moves, right? And anybody that I know that I've worked with over the course of my career who has made those moves, they've all benefited.
I know.
95% of them have benefited, and the other 5% is something you can't control. Usually, if somebody gets sick or dies or whatever, you can't control those types of things, right? You can put contingencies in place, for lack of better terms, but The thing is,
stick with the plan.
Stick with the plan. You make
Don't
the plan.
base your decisions on trends or markets.
Or your family, right? A lot of your families are going to tell you stuff that you're, and if you have good relationships with them, just I guess evaluate the information and where it's coming from. That's a really,
for sure,
really big thing because families will stop you from doing stuff sometimes that's really in your best interest.
That's right.
If you are in a place where you're ready to make that move, I just want to extend out the invitation to reach out to me anytime you want. I'm always, always, always happy to have a conversation with you. I've been through it personally. I've been through it professionally, of course, as I've already detailed. But the main thing that I want you to know is it may or may not be the right time for you. So one thing you can count on is I'm always going to shoot you straight. I would prefer that you knew what the truth was rather than having me tell you everything you want to hear and then you realizing that it's just not going to work out on the other end. Is that fair for you? I feel like it's a pretty fair thing to do.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about it, you're dreaming about it, you're looking at houses, maybe now is the time to start that conversation and start to make that plan. You're ready to move up, then reach out to Andre and I. We would love to help you guys out. We're a great team. If you don't like us, then you're kind of stuck with us, so don't work with us. But if you like us, then this is who you get to work with. We don't pass you on. We don't have this big grandiose team where you're going to talk to 70 different people along the way. It's Andre and I. It's us. So reach out. We would love to help you in your next move, and you know how to reach us.
Yeah. Well, if you don't, the information's going to be below, right?
I guess.
All right, we'll throw that out there for you.
Sure.
I guess we could do that.
Sure.
For you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, have a great day, and thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you guys.